cold open. On a single December morning in 2008, $65 billion in wealth held by thousands of real people was revealed to never have existed at all. December 11th. Bernie Madoff calls his two sons into his Manhattan apartment. Not a boardroom, not a lawyer's office, his home. He tells them everything, every lie, every fake trade, every stolen dollar. Within hours, his sons call the FBI. By morning, the man who managed money for the world's wealthiest families is in handcuffs on his own doorstep. But here's what nobody tells you. The SEC had been warned about him 9 times. The first warning came in 1999, 9 years before a single arrest. Setup. To understand how this happened, you have to understand who Bernie Madoff was before he became the most infamous fraudster in American history. Bernard Lawrence Madoff was born in Queens, New York in 1938. He wasn't handed a seat at the table. He built his own firm, Bernard L. Madoff, Investment Securities. In 1960, starting with $5,000, he earned lifeguarding and installing sprinkler systems. $5,000. That's where it began. By the 1980s, he wasn't just successful. He was untouchable. His firm helped pioneer electronic trading. He sat on the board of NASDAQ, the second largest stock exchange in the world. Regulators called him for advice. Banks sent him referrals. When Madoff said he could deliver steady, consistent returns of 10 to 12% annually, every year, regardless of whether markets went up or down, people didn't question it. They felt lucky to be invited in. That was the trap. Not desperation at all. The trap was exclusivity. The trap was prestige. You didn't ask Bernie Madoff how he made money. You just thanked him for letting you give him yours. The mechanics of a Ponzi scheme are deceptively simple. You take money from new investors to pay returns to old ones. No actual investing happens. The money doesn't grow, it just moves, and it works until it doesn't. Madoff's scheme is believed to have begun sometime in the late 1980s, though some investigators believe elements of fraud existed even earlier. His investment advisory business operated out of the 17th floor of the Lipstick Building in Midtown Manhattan, deliberately separated from his legitimate trading operation downstairs. 2 floors, 2 worlds, 1 real, 1 fiction. The operation was run by a small, tight circle. Frank DePascali, Madoff's director of options trading, was one of the key architects. He had worked for Madoff since 1975. He knew. Account statements were fabricated. Trade confirmations were invented. The paperwork looked flawless because they had decades to perfect it. Investors received statements showing trades in blue-chip stocks, IBM, General Electric, Exxon, clean, recognizable names, the kind that made sense. Except none of those trades ever happened. The account numbers matched no exchange. The timestamps were impossible. The entire paper trail was theater, and the returns were always just good enough. Not spectacular. Spectacular draws suspicion. Madoff offered something more seductive: consistency. While the dot-com bubble burst and wiped out fortunes in 2000, Madoff's clients saw gains. When the market crashed in 2001 after September 11th, Madoff's clients saw gains. Rain or shine, bear or bull, the number always went up. Around 10 to 12%. Every single year. That consistency was the first red flag. And someone noticed. In May 2000, a financial analyst named Harry Markopolos walked into the Boston office of the SEC with a memo. The title, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." He had reverse-engineered Madoff's claimed strategy and found it was mathematically impossible to generate those returns the way Madoff claimed. Impossible. Not unlikely. Impossible. The SEC reviewed his complaint and did nothing. Markopoulos came back in 2001. Then again in 2005 with a 21-page report detailing 17 red flags, including the fact that Madoff's options positions would have exceeded the entire open interest in the market. You cannot buy more options than exist. He wasn't just flagging a suspicion. He was handing them proof. The SEC did nothing. Again. In total, Markopoulos and others raised concerns with regulators 9 separate times between 1992 and 2008. 9 times. The SEC conducted 2 formal investigations during that period. Both were closed without action. Later reviews found that investigators lacked the basic derivatives knowledge to understand what Markopoulos was showing them. One examiner was a 25-year-old attorney with no financial background. She interviewed Madoff. He talked his way out in an afternoon. Meanwhile, the money kept flowing in. Fairfield Greenwich Group funneled $7.2 billion into Madoff's fund. Banco Santander, one of Spain's largest banks, exposed its clients to nearly $3 billion. Hedge funds, pension funds, and feeder funds across Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East poured money in. Elie Wiesel's Foundation for Humanity, a charity founded by a Holocaust survivor, lost $15.2 million. Entire charitable endowments. Gone. 87-year-old Miriam Siegman had survived the Holocaust. She had invested her life savings with Madoff, everything she had. After the collapse, she told reporters she didn't know how she would eat. She was not alone. Thousands of real people, retirees, teachers, philanthropists, survivors, had trusted this man with everything. And everything was gone. By the fall of 2008, the global financial crisis was accelerating. Lehman Brothers had collapsed in September. Markets were in free fall, and Madoff's investors, suddenly desperate for liquidity, began requesting redemptions. $7 billion in withdrawal requests hit in a matter of weeks. Madoff had approximately $200 to $300 million left in his account. The math had finally run out. Revelation, December 9th, 2008. Madoff tells his sons, Mark and Andrew, that he plans to pay out employee bonuses early, months ahead of schedule. Mark asks why. Madoff deflects. Andrew pushes. And in that apartment on that evening, the wall finally came down. He told them everything. 16 years, possibly more. Billions fabricated. Thousands deceived. A fraud so vast that even Madoff himself would later say he couldn't fully account for how it had grown so large. Mark and Andrew Madoff did not protect their father. They called a lawyer that night. The lawyer called the FBI. The next morning, federal agents knocked on Madoff's door. He didn't run. He didn't deny it. He told them it was one big lie. 3 words. One big lie. He was arrested on December 11th, 2008. Pled guilty to 11 federal felonies in March 2009. Sentenced to 150 years in federal prison, the maximum possible. He died in prison on April 14th, 2021. He was 82 years old. His son Mark died by suicide on December 11th, 2010, exactly 2 years after his father's arrest. Andrew died of cancer in 2014. The Madoff name destroyed 3 generations in under a decade. Takeaway. So what do we actually take from this? Not that investing is dangerous. Not that you should hide your money under a mattress. The lesson is more specific than that and more useful. Consistency that defies market reality is not skill. It is a signal. When any investment, any advisor, any fund